Hello and welcome to Notice Tonight, the show that decodes the region. The stage is set for the third and final phase of voting in Assam in 40 constituencies in the state capital region and the western districts. Nearly 80 lakh voters are to decide the fate of 323 candidates in the fray. The politics of citizenship and demography have always played key roles in the voting behavior of people in these 40 seats. Around half of these 40 seats have been strongholds of the Congress and the AIUDF. Therefore, the contest between a charged BJP determined to return to power and the Mahajot of the Congress and AIUDF is bound to be tough and interesting. In 2016, the BJP and its allies, AGP and the BPF bagged 23 seats and the Congress and AIUDF put together won 70 seats. I am talking of the 40 seats in which the elections are taking place tomorrow on the 6th. But this time the BPF is a part of the Congress-led Mahajot and it is left to be seen if the BJP's new ally, the UPPL, will be able to match the they will be able to match the BPF's 2016 tally of 12. If these constituencies have a large number of Bengali-speaking Muslims of migrant origin, they also have a concentrated Bodo population in about a dozen seats. That aside, there are cast into Assamese, a sprinkling of Koch Rajbangsis, Rabha and people from other communities. On the whole, the verdict of the people in these 40 seats will be crucial in determining as to who would win on the 2nd of May. To discuss the possibilities, I have a very big panel tonight. BPF leader Kampa Borgoyari is joining me from Cachar. Assam BJP Vice President Swapnanil Baruah is with me. Also in Cachar, I have UPPL Secretary Raju Narzary. AIUDF star campaigner Dr. Baharul Islam, who is an academic, is joining me from Bilasipara. Guwahati University professor and commentator Dr. Rajib handique is joining me from Dibrugarh, and Mr. Joydeep Biswas, professor Cachar College and commentator, is with me from Silchar. Gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. Before we begin the discussions, the BJP in Assam got a huge relief today after the election commission reduced the debarment of Dr. Himanta Biswas from campaigning from 48 hours to 24 hours. Therefore, Himanta Biswas immediately took to the streets in Guwahati, engaging in a massive road show from the Sonaram field to Lal Ganesh, a distance of about 6 kilometers. I want the live visuals. I want the live visuals, please. Yes, the Himanta Biswas is in, these are visuals of Dr. Himanta Biswas engaged in carrying out a road show, a massive road show there that started from Sonaram field to Lal Ganesh, a distance of about 6 kilometers. That was immediately after his 24-hour period expired around 5:30 to 6. Himanta Biswas after 6, he started his road show from Sonaram field to Lal Ganesh in favor of the Guwahati West candidate Ramendra Narayan Kalita of the Assam Gana Parishad, that is an ally of the BJP. Tomorrow, Dr. Himanta Biswas has several engagements, including several public rallies from before he arrives back in Sualkusi in his home constituency of Jalukbari, where there is a mega rally to be addressed by Union Home Minister Amit Shah. Nitin Gadkari is also expected to be there in that rally, along with Assam Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal and BJP North Assam in charge J. Panda and several other leaders. Of course, there was doubts over whether Himanta Biswas would be able to attend his very first rally in his own constituency tomorrow, because the Election Commission had debarred him from campaigning. But this evening, that everything changed after the Election Commission decided to withdraw that order, modify that order rather, and reduced his ban from 48 to 24 hours. All this after Himanta Biswas wrote a letter to the Election Commission this morning where he tendered an unqualified and conditional apology for his remarks and said that he will abide by the Model Code of Conduct. Himanta Biswas had two options before him, either to move court or to once again appeal to the Election Commission to modify the order. He did not move court. He, of course, approached the Election Commission, and this is the result. Himanta Biswas there on the screen. Live visuals coming in. Massive attendance in his Guwahati road show, his first road show in Guwahati. Like in the length and breadth of Assam, including rural Assam, there is equal enthusiasm among the urban population in the city of Guwahati. West Guwahati is one of the city constituencies, one of the 4 city constituencies where the sitting MLA Ramendra Narayan Kalita of the AGP is seeking re-election, and Himanta Biswas Sharma there campaigning for veteran AGP leader Ramendra Narayan Kalita, and this immediately after his 24-hour ban expired this evening. Himanta Biswas Sharma out in the streets of Guwahati there campaigning, and massive enthusiasm among the people who are trying to touch him, trying to speak to him, giving him gamochas. Himanta Biswas Sharma picking up little kids. And as usual, this has been a mega roadshow yet again for Dr. Himanta Biswas Sharma, and he will be engaging in a similar exercise tomorrow, which is the last day of campaigning before the final round of voting on the 6th of May, where 80 lakh voters are to exercise their franchise for 40 constituencies from among 320 to select candidates from among 323 in the fray. And there you can see these are live visuals coming to you from the city. Himanta Biswas Sharma is on way where this roadshow is going to culminate at Lal Ganesh, another locality in the city, and from the place where he started, that is the Sonaram field near Borolumuk, that's a distance of about 6 kilometers. This is again a spontaneous reaction by the people. Before we begin the discussions, let's listen into what Dr. Himanta Biswas Sharma had said from atop that open jeep where he is traveling at this point in time. Let's listen into what Dr. Himanta Biswas Sharma had to say.
নাই 24 ঘণ্টাটো মই কোকৰাঝাৰতে আছিলো দিনৰ 11টা লৈকে দিনৰ 11টাতে মই কোকৰাঝাৰৰ পৰা আহিছো আৰু কালিটো ৰাতি 10:30টা লৈকে কোকৰাঝাৰত প্ৰচেছনে কৰিছো 3 ঘণ্টা খলো কাইলে স্যাৰ আপোনাৰ সমস্যা সমস্যা আহিব কাইলে অলপ ৰেষ্ট 3 ঘণ্টা 6 মাহৰ মূৰত খলো অলপ ফ্ৰেছ লাগিলে আপোনাৰ মনোনয়ন দিয়া তৃতীয় পৰ্যায়ৰ নিৰ্বাচন নামমাত্ৰহে বুলি কৈছে আপুনি গতিকে আজি এক পৰিস্থিতি আমি প্ৰতিশ্ৰুতি লাভ কৰিছো গুৱাহাটীটো 4টা সমষ্টি প্ৰত্যেকটো সমষ্টি 1 লাখৰ মাৰ্জিনত
Well, Himanta Biswas Sharma sounding extremely confident there, saying that all the 4 urban city constituencies in Guwahati, he said that the BJP and its allies are going to win with a margin of over 1 lakh votes. That is a confident Himanta Biswas Sharma, and he said that till 10:30 at night yesterday he was in Kokrajhar doing a road show, and then of course he came at 11 o'clock, slept for 3 hours after 6 months. Of course, he has been referee. Election campaign has been going on for only 1 month. Of course, he was referring to his pre-engagements, running around the entire length and breadth of the state to manage the COVID situation. Well, these are live visuals coming in. We will return to these visuals later in the bulletin. But right now, let's go back to the discussions. I have a very eminent panel tonight. All right, stage is set, as I have said, for the 3rd phase of voting. This is going to be a very interesting battle. I have with me several prominent leaders of the political parties. Let me go straight to Bilasipara, from where I am joined by AIUDF star campaigner Dr. Baharul Islam, an academic by profession. Dr. Baharul Islam, welcome. In 2011, the AIUDF had won 13 of these 40 seats that are going to polls in the final phase of elections. In 2016, the AIUDF had won 6 seats. The Congress had won 11 seats in 2011, as well as 11 seats in 2016 as well. So the Congress is pretty much holding on to these 11 seats out of these 40 seats that are going to polls on the 6th of April. Now the question is, AIUDF tally came down from 13 to 6, but now both the parties, those were different times where you are fighting against one another. Do you think the arithmetic is going to be simple enough now that you are in a Mahajot? How do you see the fight this time?
I find it much more easier, and I just finished my second phase campaign in Barak Valley, where this UDF Congress and CPI, CPM, and eight party Mahajot has been very much blessings for us. It has not only consolidated our resources, it also consolidated the voters who were basically divided between Congress and UDF in various seats. And that's why you will see a tremendous impact on the results of 15 seats in Barak Valley. That's it above. For last 3 days, I'm here for the third phase of election in and around Kokrajhar, Dhubri, and this area, and we find that again I have just finished three marathon meetings today. Everywhere it is a very compact UTF Congress, BPF. I have just finished a meeting in Kokrajhar a few minutes ago, and BPF people were with us. So it is basically a very consolidated fight, and that's why it is both for our party supporters of all the parties. They are feeling comfortable and not
Right.
fighting with each other, and that's why I see that the results daily will show it very soon.
Okay, consolidated fight, Congress, AIUDF, and Bodoland People's Front. Let me go to Kokrajhar, from where I am joined by senior BPF leader, former deputy chief of the BTC, Mr. Kampa Borgoyari. Mr. Kampa Borgoyari, you are in the middle of an hectic election campaign. Your alliance partner, Dr. Baharul Islam of the AIUDF, said that it's going to be a consolidated fight. You are exuding confidence about the good performance of the BPF. You think you'll perform very well. What is the basis of this confidence, Mr. Kampa Bogore?
Now, you can see in the last 15 years, BPF has done a lot for the welfare of the people in the BTC area, and that's why they have confidence on BPF and the leadership of Hagrama Mohidari. This time also, in the council election, people said that BPF will have 2-3 number of seats only, but then we own in 17 number of seats. That shows that still people have confidence on BPF, and that's why in the assembly election also they have shown the same attitude and then support, and that's why we are expecting that will win in the 12 of the 12 seats.
Okay, 12 of the 12 seats. You have already said that you will win 12 of the 12 seats. That is your prediction. But in 2016, Mr. Kampa Bhattacharya, you had won that same amount. That is 12 of the 13 assembly seats you contested. But I'm again asking you this question because the equations are different this time round. There is a question of transfer of votes from one party to the other because BPF is fighting, Congress is fighting, AIUDF is fighting. If you have to do well, people have to understand the equations. The votes needs to be transferred. What do you have to say, Mr. Borgoyari?
UPPL has been in the politics of BTC since 2005. The name was only changed time to time. And their performance in the last assembly election is very poor, that you know. With the help of state government, the BJP, they have formed the council government, but they have shown very poor again performance in the last 2 months of administration of BTC government. That's why again the young generation and the people of BTC, they are not taking them into granted that they will serve the aspiration of the people.
Okay. Let me take a reaction immediately from Mr. Raju Narzary, UPPL Secretary, joining me also from Kokrajhar. Mr. Narzary, you have seen senior BPF leader Mr. Kampa Borgoyari saying that the UPPL managed to come to power in the BTC only with the help of the BJP, and he is saying that without the BJP you were not doing well at all. So therefore he doesn't seem to be worried about the UPPL in the ensuing assembly elections. You are going to the polls on 6th.
The fact is very clear. For last 15 years, there has been, after creation of BTC in 2003, there has been 3 elections, assembly elections so far, This is the fourth elections. So in the previous three elections, the people have given mandate to the party which is ruling the Bodoland Territorial Council. Since the BPF was in the ruling for past 15 years, and this time around the regime has changed, UPPL and BJP is now ruling the council. So this time definitely the people will give mandate to UPPL and BJP alliance.
Now, you know, how do you respond to what Mr. Kampa Borgoyari said that, you know, you have been in, this may be your first election, you recently contested the first council election, you are now contesting the first assembly election, but according to Mr. Kampa Borgoyari, you have been in politics for a long time, only the name was different. I suspect that Mr. Borgoyari was referring to the All Bodo Students Union. So, he is basically trying to say, what if I have understood right, he is basically trying to say that you have been in politics for a long time, but despite that, in the last council election, you did not perform as expected and you are in power today only because your partner was the BJP.
You see, in the previous elections, the UPPL has did not do well, like the past three BTC election, because there was issues like UPPL always had kind of got support from the All Bodo Students Union, which was steering the separate statehood movement. So there was a polarization between the Boros and the non-Boros, and it is an everybody now knows that, aware about the fact that from the last BTC election, which was held in December 2020, the entire polarization of Boros and non-Boros has ended. Mr. Navakumar Soronia, which was leading the non-Boro faction, has joined the government, and today there is no question of Boro and non-Boro. So all the communities, ethnic communities, religious, linguistic communities have now joined the politics here, and they have unitedly now fighting the election. So there is no questions of kind of losing the election this time.
Okay, but before coming to Mr. Swapnanil Baruah and going to my non-political panelist, one question to you again, Raju Narzary. Can you dismiss the Mahajot, because three important political parties have come together: the Congress, AIUDF, and the Bodoland People's Front. Now, yes, you also have a very important party as your ally, that is the BJP. But don't you think the contest is evenly poised? Don't you think that the contest is going to be really strong between both the formations?
Let us go by the fact. Actually, last BTC election, BPF has got 32% of vote shares in BTC. UPPL has got 31% of the vote share. BJP got 18%, and Congress and AIUDF got 5%. So 18% plus 31% is like 49%, and you have 32% and 5% is 37%. So going by the arithmetic itself, the UPPL BJP coalition is winning the elections. Apart from that, the Congress does not have any existence in BTC area. You see, last election they managed to win one seat in Srirampur. That candidate also has now joined the BJP. So there is no presence of the Congress in BTC.
One quick comment from Baharul Islam. Baharul Islam, is it as simple as that? 59% versus 37%. That is the arithmetic which UPPL leader Raju Narzary is saying. 59% to the your opponents, and you and other people combined together getting 37%.
I think the political arithmetic of voting does not reflect exactly so. Otherwise, in various places, we just had Bihar election. The exact mathematical calculation 1 plus 1 does not always become 2. It might become 2.5, and it might even go otherwise. So we see that there will be a value addition when there is a Mahajot. The image which I am getting from the field is much comfortable, and at least I can assure I have just I also campaigned with Mr. Ajmal in for Raviram Narzary's constituency, and right now also there. I feel at least from my
Okay, we'll
AIUDF point
we'll
of view,
we'll
I
have
think
to
that people will add.
we'll have to
People will add more.
we'll wait and
And
watch. Quick comment from you, Mr. Swapnanil Baruah. How do you see the contest? Even contest? Do you think the overall 40 seats, which has been a stronghold of the Congress and the AIUDF, because in 2016 BJP got 11 seats, your alliance partner AGP got 4 seats, a total of
11 plus 4, 15.
yes, 11 plus 4 is 15, whereas the Congress won 11 seats, AIUDF won 6 seats, and the BPF today, which is not with you, had won 8 seats. That means a total of 25 seats.
Well, Wasbir, I think I would go by your comment, which you had made, that this is an evenly contested phase of the election. As I was doing my arithmetic, I just find that we are nearly sure about in 20 seats of the 40 that is going, or 39 that is going to the polls. That makes it equally divided. Now, what I am saying is that my 20 is more or less within our kitty of the UPPL plus the BJP combination. What I am hoping for an expected bonus is in certain constituencies which we have not yet taken into consideration, but there has a minority and majority mix. We hope that those seats will make a good dent. I think I could name Goripur, I could name Khurukhetri, these kind of seats which we have a good chance of coming.
So long and short, you are saying that it's going to be a evenly poised contest.
Evenly, but the weightage is in our favor.
Okay, evenly poised contest, but BJP spokesman Swapnanil Baruah is saying that the BJP and its allies have an edge. Let me come to you, Dr. Rajib Handique. How do you see the final phase? Because this is very interesting, where several issues which have not been discussed really so openly have come into play this time. This is the politics of citizenship is an issue here. That is what is very critical, and demographic composition of the constituencies also has been a key factor.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. But let me also comment one thing. It's really very nice to hear all the different political parties exuding confidence in this third phase of election. I think the thumb rule for all political parties is that till the end, don't concede defeat. So it's really very nice to see how arithmetic is being construed to indicate a victory for one side against the other. But the real fact is, I think between the Mahajot and the Mitrojot, I think the Mahajot has some edge, though as Swapnanil Baruah has rightly said, there might be some surprises, as in Goripur, which might, because there are also contests between the AIUDF and Indian National Congress as well, which leaves open some space for BJP or AGP to scrape through. Senga in Senga, it may happen, and there are quite a few interesting seats. But Golokganj, for example, Golokganj may go to Mahajot. So these are things, and even Bongaigaon may be tough.
Right. But you believe that you believe going by the demographic profile and going by the politics, that is going by the narratives, you feel that Mahajot has some kind of a dominance in this area. In this area, that is the 40 seats which are going to the polls on the 6th. That's what basically.
Yeah. It has been a very acrimonious type of. There are a lot of acrimony. There are a lot of things that have happened during the last few days.
Right.
And as you have rightly said, in the beginning itself, the election commission is quite busy, hearing complaints and taking action.
Election commission is quite busy.
What has happened is it seems that the parties have dug their heels, and I think now it will be very, very wonderful to see what the outcome will be.
We'll wait for a second. Hold your thoughts.
Polarization.
I'm coming back.
Will in fact, I think, help.
Right.
Mahajot.
Absolutely. I'll come back to you, Dr. Rajib Handique. Let me go to Silchar, from where I'm joined by Professor Joydeep Biswas, professor in Cachar College and a commentator. Professor Joydeep Biswas, you have been closely watching the AIUDF. there are two political parties. We know about the BJP, we know about the Congress, but there are two political parties which needs close focus as far as these 40 seats are concerned. One is the AIUDF, the other of course is the Bodoland People's Front, and now the new political party, that is the UPPL. These are the three political parties on which special focus, or which are in the limelight. Now, you have been closely watching the AIUDF. Do you think the AIUDF in these 40 seats, in 2011 they had won in these 14 seats, in 2011 they had won 13 seats, but they had come down to 6 in 2016. Both in 2011 and 2016, they were fighting against each other, the Congress and the AIUDF. But still, the AIUDF tally came down to 6. They suffered a 50% loss, more than 50% loss. Now, how do you interpret it? Do you think now that they are part of the Mahajot, both the parties are going to benefit, Congress and the AIUDF?
Well, Wasbir, your comprehensive question almost answers it as well. To begin with, the score sheet for 2016 for the third phase of election shows 11 to the Congress and 11 to the BJP, thereby making it apparently an evenly poised fight on the 6th of April. But as you have very correctly said, that the alliance of Congress and the AIUDF may definitely make things really very, very difficult for the BJP. Now, it doesn't really require one to be an expert to say so. The specificity of this third phase, or for that matter this year's election, is that this election is not only about identity, but it's also about ownership and representation. Now, as far as the minority, the religious minority in Assam is concerned, the ownership and representation is a fight between the Congress and the AIUDF. But this time around, since the two are in league, so that fight is actually over. But
Joydeep, let me ask you another important question before Swapnanil Baruah comments. I'll go back to you, Mr. Kampa Borgoyari, in a minute. You said that this election is about identity. The BJP is saying that the BJP's narrative is also the same. They are trying to protect the identity of the Assamese people, And Badruddin Ajmal, if you look at him, what he is saying, he is also talking about some kind of an identity. So the identity issue is common, but the narratives are different.
Yeah, the narratives are different because in a way narrative is the same, because the identity question is nothing but identity assertion over politics to get the bigger share of the pie, of the political pie. So when Dr. Himanta Biswas says that this election is all about preserving and protecting the cultural identity of Assam, he actually means the Assamese and indigenous identity, and obviously he leaves out the religious minorities. Now, when Ajmal says that this is an election of identity, he actually means the identity assertions of the Bengali Muslims in the state. So this is actually the tussle between the two. Now, Congress is placed in between actually, because Congress does not play with the identity politics. Congress claims itself, and rightly so, to be a party of all the segments. It needs votes from all.
Right.
And this year's election, as I said, actually centers around, on the third phase particularly, centers around the BTR areas. Because
let me hold your thoughts. You have very rightly pointed out, Joydeep, Professor Joydeep Biswas, that it focuses around the BTR area. I have two very important leaders from the BTR. Let me go to you, Kampa Borgoyari. Nobody can deny the fact that the 12 to 13 seats in the BTR region is going to play a very important role, because the BPF 12 seats in 2016 contributed greatly to the overall BJP tally. No wonder there were 3 ministers from the BPF in the Sarbananda Sonowal government. Now, the big question is whether the UPPL will be able to match the tally of the BPF. I'll ask that to the BPF representative. But your party, that is the BPF, Mr. Borgoyari, the main charge of the UPPL and the BJP against you, against the BPF, is that of corruption. How have you been able to counter this in your campaign, Mr. Kampa Borgoyari?
People know that BPF has never been in corruption. They were working good for the people. Whatever they said against BPF is not with the facts that everybody knows. And now they have been in power for last 3 months. And in 3 months, people have seen that they have done a lot of corruption. They have supplied the entire money of BTC. They have spent in supply.
No, but if the UPPL administration is indulging in corruption, why is the BPF not lodging FIRs? Why are you not demanding an investigation, Mr. Borgoyari?
That definitely will be done later.
That definitely will be done later. Okay, I'll have to go for a break, but very quickly, Raju Narzary, I mean, as our panelist, Mr. Joydeep Biswas has said, the 13 seats in the BTR is going to play a very dominant role as far as the final results are concerned. The performance of your party vis-a-vis the performance of the BPF is going to be very, very keenly watched by everybody.
Definitely, this will be watched, not only seats in BTR, but all the seats, 126 seats in across Assam, will be watched. But mark my words, BTR region definitely be swept by BJP and UPPL.
Okay, we'll wait and see what happens on the 2nd of May. I'll go for a very short break. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back, Mr. Swapnanil Baruah. Now that it's such a closely fought and keenly fought elections this time, let's talk, we are talking about, of course, the final phase of elections, the 40 seats, where there is going to be a neck and neck contest where in some constituencies, maybe your combination may have an edge, in the other constituencies, maybe the Mahajot may have an edge. But point is, don't you think that you have created enough confusion? Your ally, your new ally in the Bodo heartland is the UPPL. But the 3 BPF ministers, they continues to be part of the Sarbananda Sonowal government till the end. Now, one of the BJP leaders said that, oh, when we changed our ally, they were free to walk out, but they did not walk out. But it was must have been a very clever strategy by the very astute Hagrama Mohilari. Don't you think that this is going to create enough confusion in the mind of the voters?
No, I don't think. My field experience shows that there is no absolute confusion amongst the minds of the voters. I can speak with authority having visited the Buxar district and the Udalguri districts. These 7 seats which are there is no confusion. They are in the.
No, I'm talking about the presence of the BPF leaders in the government.
Yes, that is what people have virtually forgotten that there are certain ministers of the BPF in the government, because now the government is no longer in play. They are not even visually seen anywhere, except for maybe I just saw Pramila Rani Brahma on the TV a day before or some day. Other than that, the other ministers are virtually out of the show. And now that the fate of Rihan Doimari has been sealed, I think that is also, he is done and dusted so far as elections are concerned. So the 4 seats of Udalguri districts are firmly in our kitty, and there is, again I see, even in the field there is no physical presence, as was demonstrated by the change in the Tamulpur candidate of BPF switching over to our side.
Okay, we will expand on that. That's an interesting point, the Tamulpur candidate switching sides. I'm coming to you, Dr. Baharul Islam and Mr. Kampa Bhattacharya, but very quick comment from Raju Narzary of the UPPL. Raju Narzary, don't you think, what is your opinion? Do you think the 3 BPF ministers continuing as part of the BJP government of Mr. Sarbananda Sonowal, do you think had they not been there, things would have been much more better, or it would have been less confusing for ordinary voters? Of course, I am not taking the voters
I don't think
for
so,
granted.
actually.
Sorry, tell me.
I don't, I don't think so. I in fact feel that it was very indignified for those respected honorable three ministers to continue to hold office after the alliance is being kind of broken after the BTC election. They should have resigned. They should have dignified in an honorable manner. They should have exited. But the way for your previous comment that they will benefit, here actually what they are trying to do is to do some kind of religious polarization with the help of the AIUDF. They are falling into the trap. So once it happens, there will definitely be counter polarizations on the other side. Secondly, we have a very bitter experience of aligning with AIUDF last time in the MP election, the parliament election, where the AIUDF vote never got transferred to our candidates. So it is a mistake that BPF is doing by aligning with AIUDF.
Okay, quick comment from you, Mr. Dr. Baharul Islam. Mistake that the BPF has done by aligning with the AIUDF, because AIUDF votes does not usually get transferred. That is the charge, that is the assessment of the UPPL.
Also, we have to understand that the parliamentary election and the assembly elections are completely two different ball games. The local constituencies and their voters, their identification of issues and their alignment, and particularly there is a huge, you can say, psychological value additions in this combination. Now, the way I see my supporters and other party supporters joining together on ground, I think that is what we are saying, that which will be an X factor in this result, which is not mathematically calculable at this point of time. As I said, I just campaigned 2 days ago for Mr. Raviram Narzary, the candidate we are talking about. We are going to see the same kind of, you can say, voting pattern, which is much more, consolidated in an assembly constituency area rather than a very large, parliamentary area.
Okay.
And because, the Nava Sharanya factor was there.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. A slightly different question before I come to the two academics on the panel. A slightly different question to you, a direct question to you, Mr. Kampa Borgoyari. You are a very veteran political leader. My question is, many people are questioning the BPF's ideology. You were with the Congress, then you joined the BJP. Now, after the BJP snapped ties with the BPF, you have again joined the Congress. Many are saying that, questioning whether this is not a politics of opportunism. Kampa Borgoyari.
At the beginning, there was Congress government in the state, and we worked with them hand to hand with Tarun Gogoi government for 2 terms. But in the 3rd term, went, Himanta Biswas, who was the in charge of BTC from the Congress party or the state government to look after the affairs of BTC government. And he maintained a good relation with the BPF leadership. He parted from the Congress, joined in BJP, and made us also work for BJP, in support of BJP. That was a compulsion. And that's why when our leadership thought that we need to go with BJP, we supported BJP in the last election and then the government. But now we have seen in the last 5 years, the BJP and their intention, their modus operandi is completely different. They don't give any importance to the local bodies and the regional parties. They are not in favor of the downtrodden people. They are completely anti-tribal people, anti-tribal. And then they are not secular. They want to crush other people, and they speak only one nation, one religion, one language, one culture. That's why we cannot do that. In Assam, we have so many people with different faiths, religion, and culture. We have to keep everything in integrity. That's why BPF again now have come to
Swapnanil Baruah,
join in Mahajat.
Are you convinced with this explanation? I mean, many people would then ask, if this is the case, why didn't the three BPF leaders did not quit the government? Because it is more than 6 months since the BJP had snapped its ties with the BPF.
I don't know, but the thing is, if you are asking me the question,
I'm asking you the question.
The thing is that BPF, I personally feel, has lost its moorings now. It has become a one-man party, and they are trying to find space all around, yet not finding a particular line to go ahead into. As a result of which, we are finding that the BPF chief is moving around everywhere, except possibly in the regions where he has the capacity to influence the decision. That is my reading from outside. I really don't know if the ground situation is so. Raju, Narzary would be able to tell me better. But I am seeing the BPF leader not very active in the areas where he could have consolidated on the 12 seats which they had held earlier. So that means that they are groping for a direction post the breakaway from the BJP.
Okay. We will come to Raju Narzary for his perspective on this. Is Dr. Rajib Handique, at the end of the day, what will be the determining factors in the final phase of the elections? This is the final push, as I have named this discussion today, the Assam, the final push. It is indeed the final push. We have seen the first phase in eastern Assam. We have seen the second phase in the Barak Valley and parts of central Assam. And now is the final push in the western districts. Now, what will be the determinants as far as this phase is concerned, according to you?
No, it's true. But before I tell that, can I just, about BPF actually staying in the government for such a long time, even after, the government openly sided with UPPL. I think that was a very clever move, I would say, on the part of the BPF. And the point is actually today, they are projecting themselves to be victims. They have been insulted. They are victims. And I think there is some amount of sympathy also for whatever happened to BPF. But having said that, it's really, the polarization campaign, as has been going on, as someone said, BPF siding with AIUDF will create problem. But I don't think so that will happen. And this is indeed the final push, and no party is leaving, any stone unturned. They are doing everything possible
but this is a very interesting,
Joydeep
Biswas, this is a very interesting phase of the elections. This is a very interesting phase of the elections where polarization has been a dominant feature. Everybody is, the Badruddin Ajmal, or for that matter, I'll take that question to Dr. Baharul Islam. The AIUDF and the Congress are accusing the BJP of, engaging in polarization. But isn't it a fact that Maulana Badruddin Ajmal and some of his party leaders are also engaged in speeches that are directly aimed at polarizing voters?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's only helping the BJP, because that makes it easy for the BJP to go for counter polarization. Now, one thing I would like to tell you, Wasbir, that if you look at the history of the AIUDF since it was born in 2005, you must have noticed that in the first assembly elections, that the 2006, they won 10 seats. In the next election, 2011, they went up to 18 seats, and thereafter they came down to 13 seats. Now, the interesting thing is that their maximum voting percentage or the voting proportion never crossed that to a 13%, whereas Muslims are 35% in Assam. So the question that I would like to put here is that, does the AIUDF really represent the religious minorities in the state? This is the first question, because AIUDF claims to represent them. Now, in this year, what has happened, there is an alliance between the two, and so this question has been pushed into a back burner, but the question still remains. You are perfectly correct when you said that this election is all about polarizations, and we find that actually all the psychologist's job actually almost have gone, because it's very easy. BJP is in a demographic disadvantage on the third phase of the poll, and what we find here is actually that there is a radicalization of religious politics actually. It's not identity
No,
politics. I would say.
Joydeep,
Yeah.
you said that 35% of Muslim population in Assam, only 13% AIUDF's vote share never crossed 13%. But you should
Right.
also take into account the fact that, among these 35% Muslims, there are a lot of Assamese Muslims in eastern Assam, and AIUDF is not at all a factor. If the AIUDF is a factor, it is a factor in the Barak Valley, it is a factor in central Assam, and of course it's a huge factor in the western districts. Let me take this to Dr. Baharul Islam. Dr. Baharul Islam, a simple question posed by Joydeep Biswas: 35% Muslim population, whereas your party's vote share has never crossed 13%. So where are these 20+% Muslims voting? Are they voting for the Congress? Are they voting for the regional parties? Even the BJP is now saying that a large chunk of the Muslim vote the party is getting, and the share of the vote share of the Muslims voting for the BJP is increasing. And this is BJP leaders are saying with a lot of confidence.
Wasbir, one thing for once and for all, and we have repeated it a million times, we have never said we are representing all the Muslims. It is the media and the people and the intellectual academia, they superimpose an image just because the president is having white beard and a cap and a Muslim. It doesn't matter. We never say that we represent all the Muslim. You look at all the Muslim leaders, the large, I think the higher number of Muslim MLAs were from Congress. It is a media imposed image on us that we are only a Muslim party, Bengali origin Muslim party. We win 5 seats from Barak Valley this time. Are we from Bengali origin, Bangladesh, East Bengal origin Muslims? We are not Khilonjias. As good as you are from Guwahati and all. Now, having said that, we have only appealed to the people who have not having a political space for a long time. And that space may go to Ananto Malo last time, it went to Ganeshwar Das, it may be went to Gopi Das, it went to Shushanta, anybody who can come and share us, it goes to Aditya Langtasha. So it is highly objectionable to put that as any political party. We can have a large number of people, BPF can be a party of Bodo people, but you cannot say that this is polarizing Bodos or something like that. They will appeal to a particular section of the people.
Let me ask Mr. Kampa Borgoyari. I'm sorry to cut you off, Baharul Islam. I have to hasten up things because just for the lack of time, not for anything else. Kampa Borgoyari, Dr. Baharul Islam was talking about the issues because he said that BPF is a Bodo party, but that doesn't mean that you are polarizing. Now my question is simple: what are the key issues with which the BPF is approaching the voters? Kampa.
Right from the beginning, our issues is to work for peace, unity among the people, and development of the area. And still, we are saying the same, that at one point of time, the entire BTC area was a disturbed area. And in the last 15 years, we have worked so hard. Now, people are enjoying peace. And there was no understanding among different communities, speaking different languages, having different faith. And we have integrated it. People believe in each other now. They have come closer, and they are working together. So unity is seen now. This is the time that we have to work for rapid development of the area.
Right,
and
but
I have same ideology this time also.
Right. I have to ask you this question, Mr. Kampa Borgoyari. Your party candidate in Tamulpur has withdrawn from the race and has joined the BJP. Now, this is something unprecedented. What will be its impact as far as your party is concerned in these elections?
That is unfortunate. And this is the policy of BJP. We have complained it to the Chief Election Commissioner of India. And definitely, constitutional and legal action will be taken in due time. Now, he was a good candidate and winning candidate. In Tamulpur, gradually, the people of UPPL, BJP, and other parties joined in BPF. And that is why the BJP leadership, they were very much scared, and they did something by which,
Okay.
the BJP party always
Okay,
show muscle power
let me
and
ask
money power.
Raju Narzary.
And
Right. Let me ask Raju Narzary this. That how do you look at this BPF candidate joining the BJP and appealing to the voters to support the UPPL candidate? Now, my question to you: do you think that there could be others? We still have a day left for the campaigning to end. We still have 2 days left for voting. Do you think why has this happened according to you? You must be a happy man, no doubt, but why, according to you? Let's have a different perspective.
See, it is wide in the open that the president of the BPF party has always said that they are a opportunist party. He himself played, it is a Suvidavadi Dol. Whichever government comes into power in the state, they join with them. So he has openly said many times. So the people there in the party now may have seen some opportunity. So they have joined the other party. So it is a huge demoralizing factor for the party, where a contesting candidate, before even the poll is held, has joined another party. It is a very demoralizing factor, and it is a very moral boosting factor for us and the allies in the region. So this will help us in a big way in winning the seats within BTR.
All right. Joydeep Biswas, 20 seconds, final comments.
Wasbir, I know that politicians are agatho-kakalogical, but after the last date of withdrawal of nomination paper, when a candidate switches side, the question that comes before us is of political culture, is of political propriety. And when the polarizations march the entire political culture in the state, as I said earlier also, Wasbir, this is not going to be a good thing in the future for the state. For the present, of course, on the final day of the final phase of the poll, the Mahajot is definitely is having an edge because the demography is in their favor.
Okay. Dr. Rajib Handique, final comments, very quickly.
Yeah, there are two actually very interesting developments we have to look into in this very historic election. One is the fate of the very old regional party, that is the AGP. I think Fani Bhushan Chaudhary himself will be facing a stiff challenge in his, pocket borough type of thing in Bongaigaon.
Yeah.
So, and the emergence of a new regional party. There is a Rise or Fall candidate at Bhawanipur who is actually who will put up a very strong fight. We have Adip Phukon who in East Guwahati. So
right. So these are the
actually,
new trends. I am running out of time. I am running out of time. Rajiv Handique,
is it the
I'm really sorry. You have highlighted these 2 points: that emergence of new regional parties and the fate of the AGP. These are the 2 new points that you have said. Yes, Dr. Baharul Islam, final comments from you. How are you looking at the end of the day? 20 seconds.
At the end of the day, I'm looking forward to the 2nd May, when I repose my faith on the larger interest and the larger cultural synthesization of Assamese people together. A defeat of Mughal, Ajmal, baby-making machine kind of politics demonization of a single person on the face of the religion and his face and in his dress. This kind of narrative will fail on 2nd May. That is the hope. I'm hoping, and I'm proud. I'll be proud. I'm sure Shankar Azan's Assam will defeat that kind of narrative on that day.
Okay, we'll have to wait and watch. As I always say, voter is king. My last question to you, Mr. Kampa Borgoyari. My last question to you: What do you think will happen on the 2nd of May?
Definitely, the Mahajat people will smile. I have been to Upper Assam and Middle Assam, and in Lower Assam, BJP will perform a very poor.
All right, let's hope for the best. Raju Narzary, 10 seconds to you, very quickly.
Just my best wishes to all the parties and contesting candidates. We are in democracy. let's wait for 2nd of May.
Absolutely. That is, if anyone has to give a fair play award, it has to go to Raju Narzary, without a doubt. That is the spirit of democracy. 10 seconds to you, Swapnanil Baruah, to wrap up very quickly.
Well, we are in the last phase. We are already past the halfway mark, and whatever more will come will be a bonus. But as Raju said, that it is a open field for everyone. Let us all fight it in the spirit of the game and come out unscathed and promote democracy.
Let the best men and women win the race. This is what is democracy. At the end of the day, this is a festival of democracy, nothing less than that we haven't been seeing for the last 1 month of campaigning across the length and breadth of Assam. I thank all my panelists for participating in the discussion and the viewers for watching the show. Good night and goodbye.